Hello. So I was gonna make a more professional sort of explanatory video on what's going on, but didn't have the time, so I'll just do this real quick while I have the chance to document it. So I've done something special in Channelwood here. I loaded into the level with a sage glitch on a save that was in classic mode. I noticed that when Flapjack was doing his run, he did it in classic, I think, or that was a subtlety that he didn't quite notice. So I decided to look into it a bit more on why this is weird. The first thing is when you try to flip into free roam, I believe, yeah, you can't move around for whatever reason. It's like a proto classic. It's really bizarre. None of my business now. Then this is sort of a thing that matters when you're doing a lot of the glitches in this, because you got to do C jumps in the run and so on and so forth. So I never really got this far. So I decided, okay, what happens if I were to do a classic run? And it turns out you would do a classic jump like this. Well, you do this part, which I knew about. I knew this was a thing that definitely exists, so it flips you around. There's two effects that happen from this. I'm going to see if I can save this. If I just click, it sort of loads the place in, but if I do F7, it pops me out of the building, and I think this is where the weird stuff starts happening. So I'm just going to take a cursory look in free roam, because free roam is a preferred method of travel. So the way that I can tell that I've done this right is if you look into the power chamber, it hasn't loaded yet. Now you can walk in, but there's some weird adverse effects with it. I think this has to do with the fact that you don't load into the library there. So for whatever reason, you know, even if I were to walk in there, although I'll be careful because I want to explore all the facets of this. So we have a weird modified version of Myst Island where things aren't loaded incorrectly. So we'll get back to that. The first thing that has changed is if I unlock this, 4, 5, 6. The textures on these don't quite load correctly, so they're these squares, which I think is kind of cool. But a much bigger effect is that you can't actually walk into here. You can actually tell that you can walk around here, so the door doesn't even load in, which means you can't even go in here. Even if we're out of bounds over there, you can't walk in. So this is just gone now. That works, but this doesn't. You need to sort of walk back. Kind of bizarre. The first sort of indication that I noticed something was wrong was if you do this bit in classic. So I'm going to take it safely just in case. So I'm going to take the tree back down again because I want to go back to Channelwood, because the routing usually has it that you do the same level twice in a row. It turns out this would be impossible for this particular reason. So let me just hop into the tree over here. It is leaving without me, which is bizarre. If I were to change to realMyst, it would actually, well, free roam rather, it would snap me into the elevator below. But if I do node jumping, which is the only thing that would be available if you were to do a classic only run, you can't go in the tree. So that's bizarre. So we're actually locked out of Channelwood if we were to do classic. Another thing is this isn't just this, and this actually happens twice. So you can actually see the rocks through here. That's not just a thing. The rocks are definitely in here, and actually won't let you down into here because there is some sort of pseudo collision that's going on in there, which is really weird. Now, if I were to do classic, right, and then the way that you usually get around this is if you, like, say you're in classic, you click a bunch, and then it takes you to a pseudo position, and you sort of save and load. You can actually get past the rocks. And once we're here, if I can move, we can do all the same sort of things. You know, this is sort of loaded up and everything, but you can definitely tell I can't. The rocks are still there, so I have to do similar to escape once again, and then save and load. So that's bizarre. But that doesn't get to the actual best part of this entire glitch, which is the live. Well, let's see. All right, let's do this first, because we'll get to that. So the ship is the same, the gear is the same. This is not the same. The door again doesn't load in for whatever reason because the game hasn't run the routine to load it or whatever. So you can just pop out of bounds by walking through here. That's kind of cool. In classic, it just doesn't let you because it can't open the door. So it's like, I don't know what to do. So that's cool. But this is actually the best part. So normally when you have the library here, when you're out of range, it actually loads like a pseudo room in there. And then when you get close enough, it loads it in. So it's sort of similar to the house over here. But for whatever reason, that's loaded in correctly now. I don't know what happened to have that happen. I must have hit some routine in there. But this is still busted. And to prove it, we're actually going to go into the tower, which is something I don't often do. And get ready for this. The building's actually still loaded in here, which causes some interesting effects, as we'll see. Actually, just at the end of this tunnel, you can see, ah, yes, the elevator and the cavern that we're in. Huh. That's not right. That is incorrect. And this actually gives us a perspective. That's the model of the tower. This is the real tower. So that's interesting. It turns out, at least as far as I could try, you can't actually leave here once you've loaded this in without causing some adverse effects, namely disabling the glitch. Because like for example, if I flip into classic here, I'm up here now, which is definitely weird and out there. But there's nothing weird going on. I didn't tilt the tower to any direction. I don't think that would really make a difference, although it's entirely possible it might have. But the elevator's not loaded, so you can go in here, which you used to be able to do a long time ago, but we patched that out. But now with this, you can do it again. You can fall into the elevator. Just kidding. Top of the elevator has collision. But yeah. So the way that this glitch actually gets deactivated is if you save and load inside of the library, then the library routine all loads in correctly. So, for example, if I do, well, let's see here, it's not going to let me do classic unless I'm like right at the elevator. Game is really weird about this part. I'll just do this. Just be on the edge of the door. Please let me flip to classic. There we go. Okay. So once I try to leave this, it goes, uh-oh, this is a problem. The save is busted, but that's just a menuing thing. But once you save and load in here, it puts you in front of the elevator and actually fully fixes the loading glitch, even letting you go back in here with the wall and everything. The one thing I haven't tested yet, which I'm actually going to test real quick, because I save loaded in the library, has that fixed? The dentist chair? It has, okay. So I guess the library routine is, or whatever, I don't know what to call it. That all sort of gets fixed. Yeah, even the gears are loaded now. So yeah, hope that was insightful and interesting. Let's see, let's go explore this a little bit. Just real quick, get out of bounds. Ooh, wrong direction. That doesn't happen. So this tower here is definitely not an accurate representation of the tower. It's actually a massive structure back here which extends way higher. But interestingly, they did some weird model work on this. Anyways, yeah, I hope that was sort of interesting, that we got to explore the island in a half-loaded state. So thanks for watching.